The AL wildcard starts to take shape as the Yankees, Mariners, Red Sox, and Rangers all won. We'll be getting to all of it on Locked On MLB Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night. I'm your Sunday night host, Brian McKeon, alongside my partner and Locked On Red Sox postcast host, Steve Lenox. Steve, how are we doing today?
We're doing. Glad to get to work with you for the first time here. And, draining, a long Sunday of baseball.
Long Sunday, even though there was no night game. Isn't that crazy how the sport of baseball works? Well, coming up on today's show, Steve, the Mariners put up 18 runs on the Braves. The Giants take a step back in their NL wildcard chase, all on a day that was not exactly special for the pitchers. But before I get to that, today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And I'm going to start it off in the AL East with two teams that are very important to our interests personally. The Blue Jays at the New York Yankees. Yankees win this game 4-3 and take 2 out of 3 in the series, which is very important. The Blue Jays took game 1 of the series. The Yankees really needed to come through at the end point portion of the series. They got it done. Max Fried on Sunday goes 7 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned, 1 walk, and 4 Ks. Really battled through this one. Scherzer, not exactly great for the Blue Jays, and he hasn't been great for a while. 4 1/3, 3 hits, 4 earned, 4 walks, and 8 strikeouts. Ben Rice had a 3-run homer in the first inning. Bellinger doubled in the third, and the Yankees held on the rest of the way. It was a 4-3 victory. No runs were scored afterwards. I do want to mention this from a Yankee perspective because I host Locked On Yankees. That's my day job besides hosting Game Night here. Aaron Boone bringing in Devin Williams late in this game. I, as a Yankee fan, can't personally understand the continued faith in the guy that has blown every opportunity possible for the Yankees this year. To go to Devin Williams in the 8th felt like he was trying to give the series away, and it wound up being really important too because with your Red Sox coming back late, and we'll discuss that in a little bit, that wound up becoming a crucial win for the New York Yankees. So this series now, it's two games. The Yankees and the Blue Jays are separated by, Steve, right now if I ask you, who's winning the American League East? Yankees, Red Sox, or the Blue Jays?
3 weeks to go, right? Putting my feet to the fire. I do think the Blue Jays end up doing it because they've been the most consistent of late. The Red Sox, all of a sudden, Roman Anthony's out of the lineup. Mm-hmm. The Blue Jays, what happens with Bo Bichette here? He was out of the game on Sunday after that collision at home plate where he was thrown out by Bellinger on Saturday. But I for some reason, I think the Blue Jays. The Red Sox, again, I say that 3 weeks, Brian. If there's 3 weeks left in the regular season, there's so much to be determined. But right now, I don't go with your team. I don't go with the Red Sox. I go with the Blue Jays for some reason.
Yeah, I actually agree with you in that scenario. I just think the Blue Jays have been too consistent at this point. It feels like 2 games isn't too little too late, but it does feel like it's too little too late. The Yankees are going to stay home. They're going to take on the Tigers for 3 games, who are coming in, falling a little bit, not playing too well, even though there's not much to play for when it comes to them. The Blue Jays
and they don't get Skubal either. They don't get Skubal in the series.
They avoid him, which is huge. The Blue Jays are going to head home for 3 against the Astros. That's a really tough series for them because the Astros are starting to get desperate. Blue Jays now hold a 2-game lead over the Yankees for that AL East title, as we discussed. To the Astros and the Rangers, as we just discussed, at an unbelievably important series here for not only the AL West standings, but also the wild card. Both of these teams are super involved. Texas wins this game 4-2, takes 2 out of 3. I will say what's the most frustrating thing about Texas is their inconsistency this year. It is unbelievable how good of a team this team looks like on paper. And they win the series they're not supposed to, and they lose the series they're not supposed to. It is so weird. Framber Valdez goes 7 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned, 1 walk, and 5 Ks. And Patrick Corbin for Texas goes 5 2/3, 3 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. Jake Berger and Josh Jung doubled in the 6th to drive in 3. Berger was the home run. And that was all the Rangers really needed there to take the lead. Now the Astros are going to head to Toronto like we just discussed. Take on the Blue Jays for 3 with a 2.5-game lead on the division over the Mariners. They're 4 over the Rangers, who will stay home for 3 against the Brewers. So it is getting really tough and really tight in that AL wildcard race, along with the West Division race. They're back 1.5 games in the AL wildcard. It is it's juicy and it's fun. So we're going to be keeping track of that every Sunday night here on Game Night. And to the AL wildcard that stays continued and crazy, the Tampa Bay Rays who have played unbelievably hot baseball over the last 2 weeks and dragged themselves right back into that wild card chase, played the Cleveland Guardians in a crazy series that Cleveland desperately needed, but also the Rays needed. Cleveland wins this game 2-1 on Sunday, takes 3 out of 4 in the series. Let's hear from Justin Latta of Locked On Guardians on what the Guardians did to win this game.
Tampa Bay Rays are sick of the hometown kid. Parker Messick comes home to Tampa Bay. He's got 250 friends and family on hand to watch him give up 1 run over 6 innings against the Rays as the Guardians win 2-1. Justin Latta here from Locked On Guardians. Parker Messick has made 2 starts in his 4 career starts against the Rays. He's allowed 1 run over 13 innings with 10 strikeouts, no walks, made 2 runs stand up in this one, and the runs came at a great time. He had just given up a solo home run to Carson Williams. The Guardians come back with an RBI triple from Jose Ramirez, an RBI single from Gabriel Arias. A lot of times this year, the Guardians score runs, take a lead, and then give it right back. This time, they scored runs after the Rays took a lead, so kind of a nice comeback inning for them. They took 3 of 4 in Tampa Bay, and they'll come home and host the Kansas City Royals for 4, and that'll determine who gets to chase the Mariners the rest of the year in the wild card spot as we come down the home stretch of the season. So these games still do matter in terms of playoff positioning. The Guardians are hanging in there. We'll talk about that, the future of the wide open roster of this team, and of course that 4-game series on this week's Locked On Guardians. Hope to see you there.
All the runs in the 6th inning for the Guardians in this game. I will say what's crazy about this, Steve. The Tampa Bay Rays played some of the hottest baseball in the last 2 weeks, dragged themselves in within 2 games of that final wild card spot, and then Cleveland comes in and takes 3 out of 4. Sometimes baseball is the most unexplainable sport imaginable, especially as Cleveland was struggling coming in. Crazy, crazy stuff going on here.
Yeah, the Guardians had gotten the final game at Fenway earlier in the week, and then they go and take care of business. And, they're not going to win pretty. They can blow you out on occasion. Messick, as Justin said, local guy, does well in front of friends and family. Great to see. But it's, take the Marlins, for example. They got to 500, and then all of a sudden they dropped off, and, they're not in contention. But it's just so hard to get into that. The Rays sort of got back into the conversation. Now you drop 3 out of 4, and no one really wants to take you serious at this point.
It gets really tough for these teams. So the Guardians are going to head home to play the Royals for 4, like he mentioned. That is an unbelievably massive series as the Royals now have the lead in that wild card spot. They sit 2.5 back in that AL wild card spot, and the Rays will head to Chicago to play the White Sox for 3. They're now 4 back in the wild card as they entered the series only 2 back. So really crucial series. The Rays are going to have to take care of business in Chicago and beat up on the bad teams. I've said this for a while. You can only play who is on your schedule. So if you're the Tampa Bay Rays, don't these you will see a lot of fan bases that will talk to other fan bases and say, oh, well, you have no one on your schedule in front of you. You can only play who is in front of you. So don't take take no prisoners and go win the series that you need to. To your Red Sox at the Diamondbacks. Boston wins this game 7-4. Arizona takes 2 out of 3. But Boston a late comeback here to salvage a sweep, which was absolutely necessary. Brian Bayo goes 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 earned, 1 walk, and 2 Ks. Ryan Nelson goes 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 3 walks, and 3 Ks. What are you seeing from Boston lately? Is there a little bit of a fear coming out of Boston with the Roman Anthony news just being like really recently at this point now? What is the feeling around this Red Sox team? Because it seems like some days they are so damn hard to beat, and then other days they are the most beatable team. It really is wild.
Yeah. There's 2 separate things here. What are the Red Sox thinking? What's the Red Sox Nation thinking? Red Sox Nation is all doom and gloom. The Red Sox, they gutted one out. Nick Sogard comes through, 2-out, 2-run double in the top of the 9th inning, breaks the tie. Then Carlos Narvaez comes off the bench, delivers an RBI single, gets a little cushion. Garrett Whitlock, Aroldis Chapman, that's your combo at the end of games. Whoever it was in the past, Wetland, Mariano Rivera, Jeff Nelson, Mariano Rivera, those 2 are a great tandem. Chapman actually struck out 4 in the 9th inning. He's now faced 50 straight batters. Strikeout, wild pitch. He struck out the final batter of the game, 4 strikeouts in the 9th inning. He's faced 50 straight batters without allowing a base hit. But again, I like the fact that the young guys, Sogard comes through in a big way. That's what you need this time of the year. Every single guy in your roster has to be able to contribute. Alex Bregman went down for 43 games. They went 0-5 in his first 5. There's a little transition here with Roman Anthony out of the lineup, but they can't let that be doom and gloom. They've got to pick themselves up. Nobody's going to feel sorry for themselves. There's a couple of cliches there right there for you, Brian. But they've got to get on track here. You're looking realistically at a 3-3 trip. Now 3 against the A's in West Sacramento, but you've got Crochet going in the opener. So maybe that provides a little bit of momentum. You win Sunday, you win Monday, you've won 2 in a row.
A 3.5 game lead for them in the second wild card spot over the Mariners and a 1.5 games under the Yankees. D-backs are going to head to San Francisco to play the Giants for 3 games. Crucial stretch coming up here for the Red Sox. We'll check out a massive NL wild card standings next on the other side. You ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning for a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over all of your finances. Having everything available to me in one app makes everything simple for me to keep track of all of my finances. Life can get really hectic day to day, and why not put all your money in order? Plus, Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's your complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending. It's all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Now, you can take control of all your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. So, Steve, we're back here as we move on to the NL wildcard chase, and this was a massive series when it came to the standings. Mets at the Reds. Cincinnati wins this game 2 out of 3, therefore taking 2 out of 3 in this series. Let's hear from Ryan Finkelstein from the Locked On Mets podcast on Brandon Sproat's debut.
Sproat looked solid in his MLB debut, but unfortunately for the Mets, Hunter Greene was just better. The Reds starting pitcher was absolutely dominant against the Mets, struck out 12 over 7 innings of work, gave up just 1 hit, a solo homer to Brett Beatty, and that really was enough to beat Sproat and the Mets. Still, though, the top prospect looked very strong in his MLB debut. He was locating all of his breaking balls for strikes. We saw some strikeouts on nasty backdoor curveballs. We saw him throw, front hips, sweepers, getting guys to just take a pitch that ended up breaking right over the plate. Just nasty stuff for Sproat. At the same time, he still gave up a couple of runs as the Reds were able to scratch one on a sacrifice fly. He had a broken bat single, the first hit that he allowed that came in the 6th inning, and then Elly De La Cruz got him for a double, which was able to plate that run. But overall, I thought Sproat threw the ball really well. I'm looking forward to watch his next start. Unfortunately, the Mets just ran into a buzzsaw in the name of Hunter Greene, who just beat him. And now you lose the series. You lose the season series tiebreaker over the Reds, as they now have won 4 of the Mets, 4 of the 6 games they played against the Mets, as they took both series, 1 in New York, 1 in Cincinnati, and now they're only 4 games back. So not a good series for the Mets when it comes to their wild card positioning, but you can't dwell on that. Now you got the Phillies coming up for 4 games in Philadelphia. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be talking about all that stuff on tomorrow's edition of Locked On Mets.
Yeah, so Steve, not a crazy day for the starting pitcher, as I mentioned in the open. Really terrible performances out of mainly all the starters around baseball. No one really was great, other than Hunter Greene. He was incredible. 7 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned, 2 walks, 12 Ks. He was incredible in this game, shut the Mets down completely. Brandon Sproat was good. I'd give him that, right? 6 innings, 3 earned, 4 walks, 7 Ks. Exactly what really you're asking for out of a young guy. Mets have called up 3 of their top 3 pitching prospects in the last week. So they're really going for it here. As he mentioned at the end, Ryan did, the Mets are going to head to Philly for 4 games, which is not an easy stretch. Although the Mets do seem to have the Phillies number, so we'll see how that one works out for them. And the Reds are going to head to San Diego for 3, a Padre team that chase for the NL West out there is unbelievably fascinating. We'll be getting into that in a second. They've now fallen back in the wild card, the Reds, though, so they're going to have to really pick things up because they had an opportunity here if they swept the Mets to get right back into it, but their poor play prior to this series really set them back for a bit. Let's go to the Giants and the Cardinals, keeping on that theme with the NL wildcard chase. St. Louis takes this game 4-3. Cardinals take the series as well in 2 out of 3. Now, Tango's 4 innings, 3 hits, 4 earned, 5 walks, and 8 strikeouts. Sonny Gray, 5 1/3, 2 hits, 3 earned, 4 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Cardinals scored all their runs in the 5th inning here. Giants all theirs in the 6th off Devers and Chapman at RBIs. Lars Nootbaar and Herrera had RBIs in the 5th for the Cardinals. not a good series loss for the Giants as they came in playing sizzling hot as well, dragged themselves back into the wild card chase. At one point towards the end of the week, Steve, they jumped ahead in the NL wild card chase of the Reds, but able to fall back. They're now tied, both 4 games back, but really had an opportunity against these teams. And, you know, we said it earlier, you can only play the teams that are in front of you in the standings, and we both acknowledge that, but you got to beat those teams when you play the bad ones. You got to take advantage of those bad teams. These teams that are starting to think about their golf reservations in a couple of weeks, you got to beat those teams. You can't lay down and lose 2 out of 3 to these teams like the Cardinals, and the Giants did that here. Really a poor performance of the Giants. In this spot.
Some of these teams definitely see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like you said, you know, the golf, the honeydew list, whatever it is, come October, it's fast approaching. But the Mets, you touched on it. They've got 4 with the Phillies. Split that series, and then you've got 5 series remaining. All you Met fans, again, doom and gloom of you've got a 4-game lead right now. Everything's in front of you. All you have to do is continue to win 2 out of 3, split this series, and you should be fine. But one of those teams could continue to catch fire. Giants have done it. Maybe they peaked right there, and maybe they sort of come back to earth a little bit. All those teams that are chasing are right around that 500 mark.
It takes one crazy run late, though, and a couple bad losses for the Mets. It all change.
Yeah. Yep.
So it is crazy how this is going to work out. Giants are going to stay home for 3 against the Diamondbacks. They're now 4 back in the wild card tie with the Reds. The Cardinals are going to head to Seattle for 3 games. Mariners at the Braves. Seattle wins this game 18-2, just all over the Braves. And Spencer Strider's worst start of his career. Mariners take 2 out of 3 in this series. They're still hanging on to that 3rd and final wild card spot. Luis Castillo goes 6 innings of 4 hits, 1 earned, no walks, and 6 strikeouts. Spencer Strider, 2 1/3, 8 hits, 8 earned, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. I've never seen a line that bad for Spencer Strider in his entire career. So unbelievably fascinating stuff there. Naylor and Polanco homered as part of a 5-run 3rd inning for them, and the Mariners just poured it on in the 9th inning. Suarez had 2 home runs, 1 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th. Rally homered in the 9th. Unbelievable to score 18 runs in this spot. Mariners are super weird, though, Steve. They'll lose 5 in a row and then win 8 in a row. I don't get this Mariners team at all. So much talent on this roster. Their playoff chances concern me, though, because they go dormant sometimes and they just don't score for 5 innings, for 5 games in a row. Very confusing team to look at here. They're going to stay home for 3 against that St. Louis team. They have a 1.5 lead for that final wild card spot. So it's right there. And these AL wild card teams, besides Yankees and Red Sox, have a little bit of space between them for that 2nd spot, but that 3rd spot is all separated by like 3 games between like 5 teams. It's wild. The Braves team's going to stay home for 3 against the Cubs. And before we move on, Steve, Nationals were at the Cubs. Nats won the game 6-3. Bad loss for the Cubs, almost as bad as the Dodger loss from the night prior. Nats took 2 out of 3. Let's hear from Sam Olber of the Locked On Cubs podcast.
Well, that was the worst series loss of the season as the Cubs lose 2 of 3 at home in September to the Washington Nationals. I'm Sam Olber from the Locked On Cubs podcast. Cubs have a closer problem. We know the offense. We've talked about the offense every day for what feels like months now. Now they have a closer problem. I mean, they don't really have one because Brad Keller's been their best reliever all year, and he will probably move to that role. But Daniel Palencia, he gave up 5 runs in the 9th inning. 5. Cubs were up 3-1. Looked like they were going to cruise to a classic low-scoring, wind-blowing-in Wrigley victory. And Daniel Palencia did not get an out, gave up 5 runs, and unfortunately had to leave the game injured. I mean, Palencia has been really good for most of the year. He's been up with the Cubs. It's been trending badly for a while now. I shouldn't say trending badly for a while now, but it hasn't been trending great for the last, couple of weeks, and then this outing, it all came out. So hopefully he's okay, but regardless of that, the Cubs have to make a closer decision, move Brad Keller there and figure it out. Not something you want to be doing in September, but we know how volatile relievers can be. Porter Hodge and Ryan Presley were the guys at the beginning of the year. Hodge has spent most of the year in the minor leagues. Presley's not on the team anymore. It's a real volatile position. It goes up and down quick, and you just got to get out ahead of it. But hopefully Palencia is okay and can move to a lesser role, but that was a really rough inning, one of the worst innings of the year for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, all-time bad performance out of the bullpen right there. Talk about an ERA killer. He gets no outs in this entire game, gives up 5 runs in the 9th inning, and is going to have a 3-1 lead going into the 9th inning and lost the game. not something the Cubs could afford. That winds up losing the game and the series for them. They are, it's getting late early for them when it comes to that Brewers chase in that division. Cubs took 4 out of 5 in that 5-game series at Wrigley, and you thought, ooh, there might be a chance that the Cubs can get back on the Brewers. Here's the problem, Steve. The Brewers don't lose baseball games. It is wild stuff that they beat. It could be a good team in front of them, a bad team in front of them. Don't matter. The Brewers consistently win every single time they play, it feels like. And the Cubs they have a reliever problem. Pete Armstrong has not been playing well of late. There's a lot of weird things going on in Chicago right now. They really needed this series, and devastating loss for everything that happened here. Nats are going to head to Miami for 4 games, and the Cubs are going to head to Atlanta for 3. They're now, as I said, 7.5 back of the Brewers for that NL Central title. So, got to pick things up. I thought they had a chance.
In terms of number 1 wild card, Brian, they're fortunate because the Padres went into a bit of a funk, and the Mets just have not been consistent over the last, since the All-Star break and even beyond that.
Right now, we're set for a Padres-Cubs first-round NL wild card series. I want to ask you this before I hit the break. If you are a Chicago Cubs fan right now, if you are our guy Sam, who we see every week on the shorts, are you rooting for LA or are you rooting for San Diego?
The Dodgers or the Padres?
Yeah.
If I'm the Cubs, I'm rooting for the Dodgers.
I agree with you.
I don't want to
how
face
bad
the
they
Padres.
played. With how bad they've played and that potential on San Diego, I want the Dodgers.
As Sam said, there's a bullpen issue with the Cubs right now, and even with Jason Adam down, the Padres can shorten games with the best of them.
Yep, exactly. We're going to speak about that Dodger team. Speaking of, on the other side, the night after they were robbed of a no-no late. You need a boost to power through your day without reaching for another cup of coffee or an energy drink, and that is where Zippix caffeine toothpicks come in. Instead of the crash you get from sugary drinks, Zippix gives you a clean, convenient burst of caffeine anytime, anywhere. And if you're looking for that nicotine satisfaction, they've got Zippix nicotine toothpicks as well. Now, I've tried them. They are terrific. I've used the caffeine ones before big meetings, long drives, or even just late night games, staying up when the Yankees were on their last West Coast trip. And they gave me that little extra edge that I needed, and it didn't provide any of the jitters like normal. They're normal, pocket-sized, and discreet, so you can take them anywhere you want. And the flavors are legit. Peppermint and watermelon ice is my favorite. Spearmint's also a really good one. It's not just the energy that it provides. It also just tastes really good. So you ready to try them? Go over to zippixtoothpicks.com. Use promo code locked on for 10% off your first order. That's Zippix Toothpicks, Zippix toothpicks.com. Promo code locked on, Zippix Toothpicks. Energy and focus anytime you need it. So, Steve, the Dodgers were at the Orioles, and crazy stuff after Yamamoto's game that lost them. So they lose a brutal game on Saturday night. Again, Yamamoto had a no-hitter with 2 outs in the ninth. They wound up losing that game. Baltimore, because of that, winds up taking 2 out of 3 in this series. The Dodgers avoided a sweep by winning this game 5-2 on Sunday. Just absolutely brutal stuff out of the Dodgers of late. Just have not played well, and they've had weak opponents on the East Coast so far. Clayton Kershaw has actually pitched really well for the Dodgers this year. 5 2/3, 4 hits, 2 earned, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts. And Sagano, 3 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned, no walks, 1 strikeout. Ohtani had 2 home runs in this game in his first 2 at-bats, and also Mookie Betts homered in the third. The Dodgers are going to head home after their long road to take on the Rockies for 3, so that should be a nice respite for them to try and get right. They hold a 1.5-game lead over that Padre team for the NL West. The Orioles are going to welcome in the Pirates to Camden Yards. Unbelievable stuff. The Dodgers really need to pick things up, and they got 2 series against the Rockies left, so let's see if they can maybe pick things up against the Rockies and use it as a little bit of a batting practice kind of thing.
Yeah, but I'd have my finger near the panic button if they drop either one of the series against Colorado with their remaining schedule.
I'd agree. They've struggled mightily lately. Brewers at the Pirates. Milwaukee wins this game at 10-2, and they just keep rolling. They sweep the series against Pittsburgh. Let's hear from Chuck Freeman of the Locked On Brewers podcast, giving the Brewers a strong outing.
Boy, Mizorowski gave the Brewers a big lift today. Not only did he go 7 strong, but he helped out the bullpen. Hey, everybody, Chuck Freeman, Instant Reaction, Locked On Brewers. 8 strikeouts, 7 innings, over 100 pitches. They really stretched him out today. And he walked the first 2 batters of the game, and the Brewers already had a 4-0 lead. And thinking, oh, man, we've seen this before. He did not walk a batter the rest of the game. And the Brewers didn't have to use any of their frontline guys in the bullpen, any of their secondary guys. It's Piamps and Yoho finished up this game in the final 2 innings. And the Brewers, a rare victory today where they just cruised from the very beginning. 9-1 after 3. Andrew Vaughn had 4 hits, but I thought Mizorowski, really giving him 7 strong, did a world of good for this team. And that bullpen, that tired bullpen that we talk so much about, heading into the Texas series coming up Monday night. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on tonight on the next edition of Locked On Brewers. Please subscribe.
And Bubba Chandler, top prospect for the Pirates, like I called up a few weeks ago, 2 2/3, 9 hits, 9 earned, 3 walks, and 3 Ks as the Brewers just got to him. They teed off on him early, too. 9 runs in the first 3 innings. That Brewer offense is again, they beat the bad teams. They beat the good teams. They beat everybody in front of them. I just wonder what they'll look like in the postseason because this team has a tendency to just not come through when it needs it the most. But we've seen this story before.
Did Lindsay send you a note to say that? Because he's been on that for a while. You guys are basically voicing the same sentiment.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, though. I've watched this movie before with the Brewers. I've seen them come into the postseason being super loving everything about their team. The awesome. Remember the years with Devin Williams and DeHater out of the bullpen, where you're like, who's beating this team with this great starting pitching, the offense, Yelich winning MVPs, and then they're out in the first round. So it's almost at a point with the Brewers where it's, you know what, go prove it to me before I'm going to start believing in you in the postseason. Andrew Vaughn had 4 hits in this game, and Bubba Chandler, his ERA goes up to 7.36. Brewers going to head to Texas against the Rangers for a tough series. They hold a 7.5 game lead over the Cubs in the NL West, and the Pirates are going to head to Baltimore for 3. Let's go to the White Sox at the Tigers. Chicago wins this game 6-4 and takes 2 out of 3 over the Tigers. They've played really well of lately. I want to hear from Todd Welter of the Locked On White Sox podcast. He explains what the White Sox did and how they had plenty of heroes in this game.
I'm not sure who you would consider the bigger hero. On one hand, you got Lenyn Sosa driving in 3 huge runs. On the other hand, Will Robertson made a huge home run robbing catch in the 6th and drove in a critical run himself. Either way, the White Sox win the series against a division foe, one that's leading it too. Hello, I'm Todd Welter, host of Locked On White Sox, and the White Sox beat the Tigers 6-4. Sosa crushed his team-leading 20th home run in the 3rd to tie up the game at 3. The Tigers eventually grabbed a 4-3 lead and could have added more, but Robertson made one of the best home run robbing snags you will see all season in the 6th inning. He then drove in the tying run in the 7th. Sosa comes up in the 8th with bases loaded, and he drives in 2 with a single. And the Sox went 6-1 this week on the road against 2 division foes that Chicago's had trouble beating. Things are looking up, and I'll have more in tomorrow's episode of Locked On White Sox.
Believe it or not, the White Sox, I know a lot of people don't really pay attention to them. They've played really well baseball over the last month. Really sound. They've beaten good teams that are in front of them, too. Again, Tigers taking 2 out of 3. The Tigers do feel like a team, and I'd be afraid if I'm a Detroit fan coming in, by the way. They've had such a big lead on this Central Division for so long now. It feels like they're playing with their food in the month of September, that they're just bored and waiting for the postseason to come, which can be a scary position to find yourselves in. The Dodgers, we've seen it many years where they lose in the first round because they're just not taking things seriously for a while. You almost want to be that team that's playing for something late. You almost want to be that team that's really working towards something late because it keeps you focused and on that train. I'm happy as a Yankee fan because they're going to play the Tigers, who are not playing well as of late. 4-3 games as the Tigers will head to New York. The White Sox are going to welcome the Rays in for 3. Not a good sight for the Rays, who were playing well, but at that down series against Cleveland. And now we're going to play a White Sox team that's playing really well. That Tigers team, again, an 8.5 game lead over the Central, and it's pretty much stayed like that since May. So it's going to be.
I like the fact that the Yankees are up next on their schedule because, maybe it focuses the rest of the guys in that rotation. Mize goes in the opener, or Mize goes on Tuesday. He's taken his lumps. He's got a good win-loss record, but overall his numbers, aren't indicative, for the entire season. He's pitched well, but of late, all-star break to this point in the season, he's got to be behind Schoolbolt. They've got to find 2 arms behind Schoolbolt for the playoffs.
Agreed, and they weren't able to do that at the trade deadline, so we'll see what they can do on the way out. Hasn't played great baseball, though, of late. Phillies at the Marlins, beat the home stretch here. Miami wins this game 5-4, but Philly takes 2 out of 3. Taijuan Walker goes for 6 innings, 8 hits, 4 earned, 2 walks, and 1 strikeout. Tyler Phillips, it was a bullpen game for the Marlins, goes 2 2/3 at 1 hit, 1 earned, 1 walk, and 3 Ks. Otto Lopez homered twice in this game in the 1st and in the 7th, helped them avoid the sweep in Miami. As you said, got to 500 and then have completely fallen apart since, really. Phillies are going to return home to the bank to take on the Mets. They have a 7-game lead on the NL East as it got lower like 2 weeks ago after that Mets sweep in Citi Field, and it's right back to 7 games. That Philly team is super tough, even without Zach Wheeler at the top of that rotation. And the Marlins are going to welcome the Nationals into town for 4 games. Home stretch here for us. Twins at the Royals. Minnesota wins this game 5-1, but the Royals take 2 out of 3. Bailey Ober, 5 1/3, 4 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. He went against Michael Lorenzen, who went 5 1/3, 7 hits, 4 earned, of no walks, and 5 strikeouts. Byron Buxton, another home run, along with Cody Clemens to drive in 3. It was all the Twins needed to avoid the sweep in this game. Byron Buxton's had a really good career year when it comes to power for him. Twins did a good job by keeping him there in Minnesota. Twins are going to head to LA to take on the Angels for 3. The Royals will head to Cleveland to take on the Guardians for 4. And there are 2 games back of that AL wildcard race, the Royals are. So it's going to be tight. Cleveland and the Royals enter the series only separated by a half game, and they'll play 4 against each other. So that is a season-defining series going forward when it comes to
down the necks of the Mariners.
Exactly. So for the Mariners, you got to keep on winning. And if you're the Royals and the Guardians, you got to fight it out. You know what's going to happen, though, Steve. They're gonna split the series, and it's gonna stay right even where it is, because that's how baseball works late in the season.
There you go.
That Padre team played the Rockies. Padres 8-1. They took 2 out of 3. 8-1 victory. They took 2 out of 3 from the Rockies in this series. Dylan Cease goes 5 innings of 4 hit ball, 1 earned, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Tanner Gordon 3 2/3, 6 hits, 6 earned, 1 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Manny Machado had his 23rd of the year in this game, drove in 3 runs. The Padres just cruised past the Rockies, as they've done pretty much all season. Padres also get the Rockies for 3 more in the season, as well as the Dodgers. So the Rockies are just running through the Padres and the Dodgers back and forth as the season remains. And those teams, hey, again, like we said, got to beat up on the bad teams. No option. Padres head home to play the Reds for 3 games. They remain in the back of the Dodgers by 2 games. Game and a half, actually, and the Rockies will head to LA to play the Dodgers for those 3 games. Angels at the A's last game, or A's at the Angels, I'm sorry. LA Angels win this game 4-3, but the A's take 2 out of 3. Luis Severino goes 5 innings of 4 hit ball, 3 earned, 1 walk, and 7 Ks. One of his best starts in Sacramento of the year, because he's been awful in Sacramento at home, where the ball flies out of that minor league park. And Mitch Farris for the Angels goes 6 1/3, goes 6 innings solid, 3 hits, 2 earned, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. Joe Adell homered in the first inning, and Travis d'Arnaud drove in the game-winning run on a ground rule double in the 8th inning. A's are going to head home for 3 against your Boston Red Sox, and the Angels will welcome the Twins to town for 3 games. Steve, I appreciate your time and for joining me on this Sunday night broadcast. Thank you for joining us for this episode, everybody. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We hope you'll come back and visit us next time on MLB Game Night. Every game, every night.